that's it for announcements. And today's topic is a continuation of the theme, Inside Every Shadow Lies a Gift. So for me, this particular topic means that no matter how bad something seems to be, you are always able to find a blessing or a gift in that circumstance. There is always something positive. There is always a silver lining. Now, many of us may question this and ask, how could there be any good in a war? How can there be any good if we lose a loved one, like a son or a daughter? How can there be any good if there is racism in the world? How can there be any good if there is poverty and famine and disease and sickness? In order to find the blessing and the gift in circumstances which many people might consider negative or difficult or dark, one of the first things we have to do is realize that we live in a world of illusion, where nothing is as it seems to be. And if you are unable to see the true reality, to pierce through the Maya and the glamour and the illusion, you will be forever caught in what the Buddhists call samsara, which is this cycle of rebirth and suffering over and over again, like a circle. What happens is that in this world of illusion, a lot of people think that their happiness or their peace or their joy is just around the corner. It's just ahead of them in the next step. For example, I will be happy and joyful when I get that promotion at work. If I find my soulmate in this life and get married to that soulmate, then I'll be happy. If I can write my next book, then I'll be happy. And on it goes. A lot of people are like a hamster running on the wheel, where their happiness is just in front of them and they keep running on the wheel and they don't quite reach it. Or even if they do reach it, they realize that the thing they wanted doesn't actually give them true happiness, and so they start the search again. They start thinking it's, well, if I get this, if I get A, I'll be happy. They get A, they're not happy. Well, if I get B, then I'll be happy. They get B and they're not happy. Well, now I need C. And they get C and they're still not truly happy. So we have to pierce through this illusion of things being good, bad, right, wrong, shadow, gift. And tied into this is this concept of time. And let me try to explain myself as clearly as I can here. You will not be able to see the gift or the blessing in what some people would consider a dark circumstance like war or loss of a loved one if you are bound to linear time. So most people think of time as a straight line, going from the past to the present, and into the future. Never varying, past, present, future, always flowing in that direction. But did you know that in reality, linear time is an illusion? The majority of physicists believe this, and you can look this up. You don't have to take my word for it. There's a famous quote from Einstein where he says that this perception of past, present, and future is nothing but an illusion. Now, when you take this concept of linear time, past, present, future, and you also combine it with what most people do with linear time, comparison, then you can see how, depending on your circumstance, you're not going to be able to see the light or the gift or the blessing in a dark circumstance. And let me try to explain that a little bit further. So in linear time, people think, before the death of my child, I was so happy, and now I am so sad and depressed and suffering. Before there was war, the world was peaceful. It was lovely. Everything was right as rain. And the reverse is true too. With linear time, a lot of us are caught up in comparing present day to the past. We think, boy, we have it so much better now than people in the past. There is less disease, more availability of medication, more availability of education. We're morally better now, less corrupt than we were in the past. The truth of the matter, though, as I just mentioned, is linear time is an illusion. Instead of thinking of it as a straight line, going from A, past, B, present, C, future, time is really more, in reality, a circle, a continuous circle, where the past merges into the present, into the future merges into the past, the future merges into the present. All interconnected, all working at one time. You can think of time as not so much a linear line, but a trinity. You have the trinity of the past, the present, and the future. And these three work together to create the true reality. So in truth, the past, yes, it does affect the present and the future like most people think. But it is also true that the future affects the present and the past. And the present affects the future and the past. They are all one. And once we can get away from this linear concept of time, we are more able and more capable to see things as they really are and to see these gifts and these blessings in every moment. Because in reality, that is the truth. Do you see this? So, how do we remove ourselves from illusion and this concept of linear time? One of the ways to do that is through mindfulness. And when people talk about mindfulness, they often think of it in terms of staying in the present, being in the present. And that is most certainly true. Our mind is so powerful. As we teach here at the Spirit of Lotus, the mind is literally the link between the unmanifest and the all possibility and the reality of whatever is going on in your life. For many people, the mind is this uncontrolled wild Mustang, untamed, running about, galloping to and fro, not able to control it. What we must do is tame this wild Mustang, tame our mind. Think of it like this. How many of us spend money, effort, time in strengthening our physical body through diet and exercise? We have diet programs that they bombard us with every day on the television. We have books on diets. We have every day on the television being bombarded with the newest and the greatest and the best exercises, all focused on strengthening the body. How many of us, though, actually spend time and effort strengthening the mind, working towards taming the wild Mustang of our mind so that we direct where it goes? And not just where it goes, but how it goes. Whether it walks to a particular point, or gallops to a particular point, or runs to a particular point. Whether we stop it. Whether we have it go in a straight line. Whether we have it go in a zigzag, in circles. It is through mindfulness that we can pierce through illusion, Maya, glamour, that we can free ourselves from linear time so that we can see everything as it truly is. Let me give an example of how this works. We teach here at the Spirit of Lotus when you're about to start a meditative exercise to focus on the breath. We are certainly not the only religious organization that does that. I suspect most, if not all, organizations, religious groups, teachers who instruct about meditation, advise about focusing on the breath. Do you see when you focus your mind on the breath that you are freeing it from attachment? You are freeing the mind from attaching to thoughts. You are freeing the mind from attachment to the past. You are freeing the mind from attachment to the future. By focusing on the breath, you are freeing the mind from judgment and conclusions and assumptions and preconceived ideas. Even if you're only doing this for a few seconds or for a moment, you are freeing the mind from those attachments. And what does this do? Once the mind is free from attachment, you have opened the doorway to all possibility. The mind is no longer limited. The mind is no longer separated. You have allowed the mind to return to its natural state of all possibility. If you think of this in another fashion, by focusing on the breath, by training and focusing your mind, it becomes an empty cup. And as you go before God, present yourself before God as an empty cup. That allows you to be filled with gifts and talents and love, blessings, light. Allows you to be filled literally with all that exists in the universe. Freed from past, present, and future. Because all of these exist at the same time in every moment. Then you will be able to see, no matter whether you're in the midst of a war, in the midst of hunger, in the midst of famine, in the midst of disease, loss of a loved one, then you will truly be able to see what is going on. You will truly be able to align yourself with good, with gifts, with blessings. So that's what I wanted to share today. And now we will have time for a deep level meditation.